Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Parker.
Just a point of clarification. It seems to be, for myself, as this lady makes her way up, seems to be that we have two extension of the declaration of emergencies in here, or maybe the first one and then the resolution.
We have a local state of emergency document, and then the emergency protective measure, which is an order that I signed on March 19th, closing the beach. We've just drafted that, but that's obviously something that's going to be discussed. Those are the two, and then there's a third protective measure, or new protective measure on communications, media technology, and having an order in place locally is required in case we need to have a Board of County Commissioner meeting totally electronically.
I want to make sure I don't oversight this before we move anything, and I think these folks may would appreciate it. I may be the only one with a question, but part of this extension, if it extends the first state of emergency and then the state of emergency there under the recitals, under item 1 was 1A was public areas in Navarre Beach to remain closed, public beach access remain closed in Navarre Beach. I don't see a clause
That's the beach emergency protective measure. We're not discussing that at this point in time.
and that would supersede the emergency declaration, or?
No, the emergency, the declaration of a local state of emergency is the item that we're discussing now.
Right.
The emergency protective measure regarding the beach, it will be a separate action item.
I just, again, wanted to be abundantly clear. I'm probably the only one with a question that's not in conflict, because the original emergency actually states that they'd be closed. And so I just wanted to make sure that those weren't conflicting legally.
No, the original local state of emergency is just that, a declaration of a local state of emergency. And that's what we're ratifying, is that local state of emergency at this point in time. So there was an original local state of emergency, and then an emergency protective measure put in place on March 19th regarding the beach and restaurants at that point in time, which was superseded by a governor's executive order. So right now, it's just the local state of emergency.
And so by extending that, this first item we're on, I guess to Mr. Cooey's point, technically, if I'm reading it right, that's not prohibiting any businesses in the county. It simply really allows the chairman to take prudent action necessary to ensure health, safety, and welfare of the community without the meeting of the board, correct?
Correct. And it allows me to, for instance, to sign the emergency protective measure that I signed regarding the beach. It allows me to make decisions to authorize county funds to go to feeding the Gulf Coast to facilitate some of the feeding activities and make that financial decision without board approval as your designee. So that's what the local state of emergency does.